About 500 years ago, Europeans have crossed the Atlantic and colonized all the Americas, South, Central, and North America. However, out of those colonies, the United States of America was and still is the greatest and the most powerful country on the planet. Now, the secret to the United States of America's success can be expressed in one single word: geographical advantages. By the way, those are two words. Now, the first advantage is very obvious. It's the size. The proportion of the United States of America has continental proportions and has two coastlines. One very long coast on the Atlantic Ocean and another coast on the Pacific Ocean. Very few countries have access to two oceans. However, those are much minor in sizes. What makes it privileged for the U.S. is the continental size and the access to different climates. On the very south of the U.S., we have hot climate, Caribbean climate, or equatorial tropical climate. And as we go to the north, we have cold climate, which makes the U.S. able to cultivate different crops that goes well in different climates. And it's not just large land and access to climate. The U.S. hosts the largest continuous, non-interrupted arable land. And besides that, on the other side of the mountains, close to the east part of the U.S., they also have the plains, the Great Plains of the U.S. And that Great Plains is being blessed not only with the climate, but also a lot of rain. The mountains hold the clouds from the Atlantic Ocean, providing a lot of land on that territory. And those two territories happens to also have the infrastructure for transportation, because here is the main problem. One thing is to have access to the land and to be able to produce. Another thing is how to transport all of that production. And here comes the role of the Mississippi River. By the way, if you're watching this video and have more interest in cryptocurrencies, I have made a Crypto Basics course precisely for crypto newbies such as you. Link for that on the description below. The Mississippi River provides the United States of America with a lot of lines of navigation rivers. A lot of rivers come to the Mississippi River, and most of the crops are less than 200 kilometers from the shores of those rivers. Now, those rivers allow the U.S. to connect itself from the north to the south, giving a huge privilege in terms of transportation, because now you can just plant and produce, and you don't have to invest in producing large infrastructure in order to be able to transport your crops. And it's not just having the ability to transport those crops, it's having access to the cheapest form of transportation. We all know that shipping through the water is about 10% cheaper than any train transportation. Now, shipping also becomes cheaper when it's done on sweet waters, because the salt water is far more destructive and more acid to the ships. So the West is blessed with vast land, great climate, plains to produce, and infrastructure that enables them to be able to trade and export those crops and those production to other countries, as well as receiving fertilizers and seeds and other things that they need to develop that land. Now, if this information about the Mississippi River is new to you, please subscribe to the channel. Now, the Mississippi River brings, of course, very explicit advantages as a way to bring things in and to trade things and export your products. But there's another implicit advantage that is there and people may not pay attention to it, is the fact that all the rivers are merging to the Mississippi and all the farmers are using the same water infrastructure to get their things in and out. It gives them a sense of unity and nation. For instance, if you take this and compare to Europe, where rivers are separate, there are different countries and different nations. But once everyone is using the same river, the same infrastructure, they will acquire a sense of unity and nation. And of course, one more advantage is the abundance of water. Think of this: if you are having crops and there's not enough rain, you can always go to the river and get enough water to irrigate your crops. And it's not just that. Look at how much connectivity the Mississippi River provides. Look at the lakes and all the access to the coastline of the Atlantic Ocean. So that means anything can go pretty much anywhere in those lands by just having access to ships. And remember, shipping is the cheapest form of transportation. Now, obviously, all of that geographical advantage also translates into some geopolitical advantages. And the main advantage is that the US is a colony of England. Now, UK is an island, and that island is heavily dependent on transportation and safety transportation on the seas. And that same thing gets translated into the US, now with much vaster proportions when compared to the UK and access to two oceans. The access to two oceans, and on the south, having a funnel of Central America, means the US is also a country that is very difficult to be attacked, and it's very difficult to have infrastructure by land. So most of the infrastructure is heavily dependent on the safety and security of the oceans. And that's why the US has made the oceans much safer. And that allowed the US to make partnerships and become one of the strongest and the most powerful countries on the planet. It is also very difficult to attack the US because you have to come on an amphibian invasion. And an amphibian invasion is one of the most difficult invasions that you can have because you have to cross a vast ocean, come to the shore, and guess what? At that shore, there's going to be a lot of soldiers on land able to push you off back into the ocean. So those are the advantages that made the US impossible to be attacked, impossible to be invaded, and as the highest productive country on the planet. Those are some of the secrets to the US success. If you know some more, please let me know that in the comments below. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell